I want his family to counsel him, teach him some empathy. He will be a better person if he could become, but he is a black soul. And this is totally unfit for the leadership of this beautiful country.
Yazir Khan, the father of the fallen Muslim soldier, Captain Khan, berating Donald Trump on CNN yesterday. Steve Malzberg, lots of back and forth between Mr. Trump, Mr. Khan, and of course the media. What's your take on all of this?
Well, as we've discussed right along, he is either a puppet or he's put himself out there. Look, John McCain was a war hero, and that doesn't insulate him from criticism when I disagree with him politically. Same goes for every other veteran, all of whom are better men than I for putting on the uniform, but that doesn't mean that you're untouchable. This man who lost his son 12 years ago, his son was a hero. He's a Gold Star father, and he deserves respect, except when he goes out in a political forum and gratuitously trashes one presidential candidate against the other, then he loses that right to insulation and respect and total respect, and he puts himself out there and he's fair game. What he's doing is he's disgracing his son's memory, he's exploiting his son's memory, and he's making things up. Donald Trump said not all Muslims should come into this country. He is right. That has nothing to do with his son, and he knows it.
Well, let's turn to our guest who might have a different point of view. From Newsmax, Washington, Brent Budowsky joins us again. He's a contributor to The Hill and, of course, a former aide to the late Texas Senator Lloyd Bentsen. Brent, I imagine you have a little different point of view than does Steve.
Yeah, my column in The Hill newspaper right now, as we speak, is McCain and the veterans of foreign wars put Donald Trump to shame over Gold Star families, which sums up Senator McCain's view, the view of the veterans of foreign wars, and my view.
All right. Well, let me just ask you this. So you laid it out right there in the headline, and there's Senator McCain doing, to be fair, that's also what Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell have done. But I'm just kind of curious about this, Brent. I thought the media hated anyone using a death really as a political pawn. Isn't that the case with what the DNC and sadly the Khan family did last week?
Oh, no more than the Republican convention had a woman go up there and talk about Benghazi's death. Same thing. No, let me correct Steve about one thing here. We in America don't demonize people for expressing a political view. Whether
I don't demonize
Muslim,
them for that. Wait, Brent.
No, please, I'm going to ask you, Steve, I'm going to ask you to let me finish during my time. This is not Putin's Russia. And I know how much the Trump supporters, I know how much.
All right, here's the way it's going to work today. It's Steve's show. Make a brief statement, Brent, and then Steve's got something he'd like to say. Continue, please, Brent.
Oh, that's fine. But on my time for a few minutes. In America, we let people offer a point of view. If they want to go to a Republican convention and they're a Gold Star mother or a mother of a Benghazi victim, they have every right to do it, and they deserve the same respect that somebody has. Now, on the immigration, I will say briefly that no less than General David Petraeus said that the views espoused by Trump on the Muslim ban help terrorists, help ISIS.
Right.
Now we understand where you're coming from, Brent. Now, Steve, it's your show. Go ahead.
Everything we do to fight terrorism, they say helps terrorism. That's great. First of all, I didn't demonize him. Secondly, of course he has a right to express his opinion, but then don't go around crying, he's a Gold Star father. You can't say that, because once you give your opinion and you put yourself out there, that goes by the boards when it comes to being able to criticize. And as far as everyone has a right to express their opinion, how did the media treat Pat Smith? Your hero probably, Chris Matthews, said he makes him sick. The media did not parade her around on every show. They didn't even cover the families of those killed by illegal aliens. So don't give me this, everyone has a right. The media has it in the bag. This is a sham, and you must know it.
Now, what I know, and you'll never find any columns from me praising Chris Matthews, by the way. I dare you to take a look. We'll be here for the rest of the year before you find that one. What I know is that Mr. Khan deserves respect, as would a Gold Star mother or father who wanted to make a point at a Republican convention, all of whom I respect just as much. It is not Brent Budowsky saying the Muslim ban helps ISIS and helps terrorists. I want to be clear about that. I do. But I'm in good company. The gentleman I just quoted was former CIA director and retired General David Petraeus.
Well, let me give you a little background as the only elected official during this segment. As a former member of Congress, I believe there ought to be a total moratorium on immigration for everybody until we figure out what the heck is going on. Now, got to get to some other news, specifically Hillary. On Fox News Sunday yesterday, Chris Wallace and his producers called up a clip from her press conference after the Benghazi attack in 2012. Let's take a look, and then we'll hear Hillary's response to that clip.
We've seen the heavy assault on our post in Benghazi that took the lives of those brave men. We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with. No, that's not fair. If you go back and read everything that I said that day, I quoted people who talked about it being terrorism. I had already said it was terrorism. There was no doubt it was terrorism.
Yeah, so she said it was terrorism privately to her daughter and ambassadors around the world and other government officials, just not to the American people during that ceremony. Steve, your take.
Well, this was in response to Chris Wallace saying, hey, family members say you told them when those coffins came home that it was the video. And she said, oh, no, you know, my heart breaks for them, but they were so upset, they probably can't remember. So then Chris Wallace plays exactly what she said when the bodies came home at that same day, same ceremony, and then she says, oh, but in the past I said it was terrorism. So who's lying here? Hillary, the compulsive liar who can't tell the truth, or the family members? And why is it the media paying as much or more attention about these deaths, which Hillary, to some, had a hand in, than this Muslim father?
All right, final 45 seconds. Last word to Brent Budowsky.
No, I got to correct Steve again. Many family members said the criticism of Hillary is unfair. It is not true to label them, as family members said. Many of them said it's unfair to criticize her.
There were four. There were four families.
But may I finish, please?
Four families.
You know, and I will add in closing, since I got 20 seconds left, I wish you conservatives would be a little more uncomfortable that you are allied with Vladimir Putin when he does espionage to elect your candidate. Wow. You ought to ask about that. You ought to have a serious conversation about what kind of conservatives, what would Ronald Reagan, Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, William Buckley say about your candidate being supported by the Russian dictator?
Well, it's kind of curious because you guys sure were silent in '96 with Clinton Gore taking all that communist Chinese money. I guess it depends on whose ox is being gored, or in that case, whose owl is being gored. At any rate, Brent Budowsky.
I was not silent about that.
Oh, well, good. And you're never silent, Brent. That's why we love having you on. Brent Budowsky from Newsmax, Washington, and Steve Malzberg on his own program. Coming back in less than 30 seconds, it'll be the start of Newsmax Prime.